This is a case that just seems to keep on giving the Siders family, the so-called House of Horrors, the house where when law enforcement was serving a search warrant that we later learned was for the essay of a child. They were seeking DNA from a man. They discovered 16 kids living in deplorable conditions. Those kids were removed from the home. They were put into state care. This is in Vinton County, Ohio. And then from there, it just keeps going and going and going and going. And the Siders family tree is growing into what looks more like a Siders family criminal organization. We've got murder, we've got SA, we've got CA, we've got all sorts of allegations that we're going to get in tonight with our friend Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. Stick with me and we will get started. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. So glad you have joined me. Robin, getting us started with the super chat early on. Thank you very much for that, guys. These Siders family cases are immediate demonetization videos for me on my channel, just immediate. And it is only through your support, through supers, through memberships, through Patreon, through sharing and liking and subscribing. All those things help to keep me monetized, earning money as we're talking about very difficult and important things. So thank you. That's why I put that goal there. And thank you, Robin, for getting us started. And also, while, let's see, let me push the right buttons. I also want to thank my guest for joining me. She has been joining me each Friday, except one where I just kind of bailed on it. I had a Friday where I was traveling. Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. Elizabeth, welcome.
Hey, Gavin, glad to be here, man.
It's good to
Glad to
see
be
you.
here. Yeah, man.
Good to see you. How's everything going down there in Letcher County?
It's a going. There's a movement in the Mickey Steins case. I know tonight's the ciders. That's what we're talking about. But
No, but I've seen that. Yeah. What's been
so,
going on in the Steins case?
well, they have granted the change of venue.
Okay.
And so they are discussing, they're fighting actually
Sure.
over where they're going to have it or where they're going to put it. So the judge kind of gave it to the prosecutor and the defense to, talk amongst themselves and decide um, to give some recommendations for it.
Yeah.
And not surprising that they disagree on where to
Yeah.
have.
I think they have to on principle. They can't just say, that works. For those
Yeah.
who don't know, the case that we're talking about here is the murder of, well, murder is the word that they're arguing over. It's the killing of this guy named Kevin Mullins. He was a district judge down in Letcher County. He was shot to death in his own chambers by the county sheriff on camera. That county sheriff was Mickey Steins. And unlike any other case that I have ever seen where the defense has asked for a change of venue because they want to ensure a fair trial, the defense really wanted this in Letcher County, but the prosecution asked to move it. So where do you think they'll move it? You think they're going to go across the state?
That's where the prosecutor wants it. He wants it in all the way in Bowling Green or, on the western side of Kentucky. They say that it's a different media market there.
Okay.
And, I'm really surprised at the language that they're using for this. Um, the defense is arguing that, in today's world, information is much different than it was whenever these laws and rules were put into place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Back then, it was newspapers, it was print, it was TV. But now, all anybody has to do is open their phone and pull up an app, and you're going to get whatever news you want to get,
Yeah,
so
there are technically media markets. The Nielsen markets still exist, but I'm in application. I think what you are saying and what the defense is saying is right. I happen to work for a hyper local news organization as part of my day job, and so yeah, we have a little media market for sure, but
yeah.
it's not like we're just one piece of information as people are scrolling along on all the stuff, right? So, and the thing that I think lawyers are constantly arguing about makes no difference in the world. They have voir dire. There's so many people, even in tiny places, that have no idea what is going on in their own backyard, and they make perfect jurors.
Yeah.
So I don't know why but they do. They they do. Well, and the judge has an incentive to keep things. I mean, he wants things. He wants to protect the defendant's right to a fair trial, and we all want that, right?
Absolutely.
Even if the defendant is guilty of murder, we want that defendant to have a completely fair trial. That's reminding me, by the way, in my neck of the woods in western Pennsylvania, there used to be a gallows in the historical jail. But nobody kept really good records about, was it ever used, anything like that. And in a neighboring county, in Clarion County, the county commissioner found a man that had a little card that was inviting his ancestor to a hanging at their county courthouse. It was like, and it apparently was the one and only public execution ever done in Clarion County, but they found a little card. You are cordially invited to the execution of so and so. It's
That's
crazy.
crazy. It's
Uh,
it's it's strange. Well, that you talk about that and bring that up. I had to go down to our courthouse the other day, and I went in the back in the where the records and stuff were, and all on this wall they had these big, huge books, and it was their records from way
yeah,
back in the day. And I said, "Can I look at those?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure you can." And so I started pulling them down and looking, and it was like from 1908,
yeah,
and it was old, really old script handwriting that you couldn't even read. It was really beautiful, but it was very, old English
yes, yes.
thing. Um, and I looked at them all the way up until like the 70s and the 80s. They were still using those great big books and
Yeah.
keeping all the stuff. And one of the things that surprised me so much was that uh one of the charges that I saw in there all the way up through the 70s and the 80s was adultery. They
Oh,
charged it.
really?
They charged adultery left and right here in Metro
Wow.
County. Yes.
No, I had never. So I grew up in the Sacramento, California area, and I knew where our courthouse was, but I had never really gone in there. When we started looking out here in Western Pennsylvania for a house, once I found a house that kind of tickled me, I I can't remember if it was like the realtor that I was working with said you should go check out see if you can find deeds. And I went, okay. So I go into the back door of the courthouse, say hi to the sheriffs. I tell them what I want to do, and they're like, "Yeah, just go up the stairs." And out here they call it the prothonotari's office.
Uh-huh.
So in the prothonotari's office, they had those same thing, those big bound books, right? I mean, they're tall. They're like 18 inches,
Yeah.
20 inches tall. They're all like
Huge.
this thick.
Yeah.
And I told them what my address was, or what the address that we ultimately bought was. And yeah, they just looked up in like a card catalog, like, when we were kids and said, it's in this number book on this page, you open it up, and there was the original deed before there was a house. Like you could follow the deeds from page to
Uh-huh.
page to page to page. And then, as I've been doing research on cases out here, I will go to a courthouse and I will find the like at the clerk of courts those kinds of
Mhm.
records.
Yeah.
When they get in the 70s, they're typewritten and like
Mhm.
sometimes they're pasted in. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's or
Fascinating,
or
isn't it?
envelopes are glued on and you can open up the envelope and yeah, it's fun.
And that is, I mean, this is just my wheelhouse. I am absolutely having the time of my life.
Oh yeah,
Who gets to who gets to be a true crimer
it's
and
fun.
actually support yourself? And I
Yeah.
mean, it's just our job. How did we get this lucky?
No, it's
What?
amazing. It is. It's a lot of fun. Hey, Lynn, thank you very much for that super chat. Or the super sticker. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
It is. It is. And as you get to know the people in the courthouse, it becomes easier too, because they recognize you. It seems like public employees are a little standoffish in the beginning, right? It kind of like the
Mhm.
first couple times they're like, "What are you doing in my house?"
Yeah.
And then after the third or fourth visit, they're like, "Hey, Gavin, good to see you. What can I help you with today?" It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the I had told our clerk one day I went in there to see him and I told him I was like, that's one reason why I started hillbilly crime in the first place was to try and just educate people on the process, on how the court system works and how it's supposed to work and how it actually works.
Yeah.
Theory and practice are two completely different things.
Well, and that is the nature of the law. Getting back to what we were talking about on the Mickey Steins case, the nature of the law is the our legal system is based on English common law, which is not a written system at all, right? I mean, we made our forefathers, our ancestors made major strides in in actually recording what they decided to do with the law, right? But
Mhm.
it's so ambiguous that there's always an argument to be made, and it's not necessarily just in the case at hand. It's in what is the procedure that we are supposed to follow here?
Yeah.
And then finally somebody challenges the procedure that's been taking place for the last 100 years because it's unconstitutional. And sure enough, okay, well now everybody has to figure out what to do next. It's a
Yep.
it's a really slow turning giant ship is
Yep.
the metaphor that I think about. It's really,
Mhm.
yeah, it's the nature of the beast. So fun. I'm glad you're going down to the courthouse and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I went down and I got a couple of trials on DVD. And, we had one of the biggest trials in Letcher County was the murder of a young man by the name of Michael Hogg. It was on New Year's Eve night. There was a bunch of people down at the bar in Whitesburg. And, one thing, there was two groups of young men down there. And I think it really started over some girls. You got two different groups of men from two different areas, like towns,
So
and
they're like it's like West Side Story kind of thing. It's like you're on my turf. They're instead
yes,
of snap fighting, they're actually killing each other kind of thing.
yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it ended up being a huge. It was the biggest trial that Letcher County had seen in a long time, but it was before. It was like 2017, I think. So it was before social media had really, found, or at least anybody in this area had found, the platforms
Yeah,
to be used in this way. And so I got that trial and I've clipped it out and I've started to share that with people. There
yeah,
wasn't very many people that were actually in that courtroom for that to hear the testimony in that trial.
yeah.
And so to me, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with clipping that out and sharing that with the community, people that were interested in that trial, but were maybe they had to work, or maybe they just didn't feel comfortable going down there and going in a courtroom and sitting and listening to all that.
Well,
But
not
now they're
only is that not wrong, that there's everything right with that. You should be doing that. People, I had a guy on. My friend Nate was on my show a couple days ago, and we like Clarion County, the one with the historic courthouse that I was just telling you about. They are
mm,
the most opaque county, and Pennsylvania is an embarrassment when it comes to transparency
okay.
in government. And
Mm,
Clarion County, at least in my experience, is the worst, right? So, like, if you live in a place where it's actually transparent and you can get those things, you should share them with people. It's not that I think you use the word I don't see anything wrong. No, I see everything right. Publish it, get it out there, let people know about it. That's a really
mhm.
good idea. Hey,
I catch
and
a lot of shit for it, though, Gavin.
did you?
I do. I catch a whole lot of shit for
Well,
it.
that's funny.
But I mean, it don't bother me none. That was one thing that
Yeah.
God sure did. The Lord gave me lots of lessons in those kinds of areas before, long before now, and so that kind of intimidation and stuff just doesn't work well on me.
You know,
I'm gonna
I
keep on the trucking, baby.
I got one of those lessons when I was about 20 years old. I was in Argentina and I was working my butt off on behalf of the people there. And
Yeah.
several of the men in a particular area didn't like my style, and
Hmm.
they started complaining to the organization, to the people who oversaw the work that I was a missionary down there. So they were complaining to the the mission president and all that stuff. And I ultimately they pulled me out of that area because it was such a distraction to the work. And I remember being like, my feelings were really hurt. Like, I am working down here, man. I am like really, and it's those dudes that I'm working on behalf of. I'm working for them, right? And I'm working hard. And yeah, my mission president said, Fish, if everybody likes you, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
This is a lesson you need for the rest of your life. If everybody likes you, you're doing it wrong. You're
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
You're not
So
ruffling the feathers good enough.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, you know what the problem was? They didn't like the way I was dressed.
Yeah.
Now, that
Here
was
you
the that was the problem. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
You didn't fit in.
well, I was. Let's see. I need to close this and bring this up. We had another super sticker came in. Thank you very much, Sunshine Morales. Elizabeth, all of my Ciders family videos get demonetized.
Mine
Every
too.
single one of them. It
Mine too.
doesn't, and I can like be very, very careful about my language, be careful about the first 10, 20 minutes, all the tricks. And if
Yep.
it has anything to do with the Ciders,
Yep.
it's demonetized. So I love,
Mine too.
love, love my crew for taking care of me while,
As soon as mine goes up, as soon as it's processed and it goes up, mine hits.
done. Yeah.
Yep. Mine
Yeah.
does too.
So yeah, I appreciate you guys for the supers. I really do. Thank you very, very much. Okay. Enough of this. We've done 20 minutes of talking about not talking about the ciders.
Sorry.
No, it's
It's a
great.
Friday, man.
It's
It's a
Friday. That's exactly. But dude, dude, this case, man, this went from okay, these are poverty-stricken people, they're uneducated, they don't know what they're doing, to hey, wait a minute now. Wait, there's a murderer in like there's a lifer in prison not too far connected from these, and wait a minute. Now we've got two people under indictment for, and we're already demonetized, so I'm not even going to worry about, for rape and for
Yeah.
sexual child abuse. And then, oh my goodness, Elizabeth freaking Siders The mom of these 16 children and her husband Gary Siders, they are now indicted for sexual abuse of children.
Yep.
And
And the
and we
extent,
learn that it's indeed because of that police were there in the first place. I thought it had to do with that misdemeanor, he
yeah,
peed off his porch,
yeah,
indecent exposure thing.
I know, no,
No, they were there to get DNA out of this guy.
yeah, for a whole baby,
Yeah.
for a
Like
whole other baby that ain't Lisbeth's.
from
It's his niece.
and the mother is a child.
It's his niece.
Yes. Okay. So, let me bring this up that you sent over to me. Just I don't know if people are going to be able to see this very well. Let me pull it up this way.
That's
Hopefully
it.
everybody can see it, right? But basically what we have is Gary Siders has four sisters. He is the youngest of five. His sisters, oh, let me hide. Give me a second. Gotta get the right
One
buttons
of
here.
the sister's husband, and then the kid is his son.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So
Do you
I
know?
want you to explain this to us, but real quick, just a quick primer for everybody. If we look at the column underneath Virginia Jenny Siders, she has a former husband, or yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's former, if they're divorced or not, but she was married to a guy named Joshua D. Saunders. He he was 19, she was 15 when they got married. She was 8 months pregnant when she got married, because she had a son a month after they were married at the age of 15.
Hmm.
That son is now under indictment for child rape. Now, her partner, which on this one is labeled former partner, I don't know, I don't know how accurate that is. A guy named Brandon Henderson. Let me bring this up. This is Josh Siders here. This is his mugshot. This is Brandon Henderson,
Hmm.
her partner,
That's her
um,
former. I
former
think she's with
partner.
somebody else now, is
Okay,
why.
okay.
But
Uh,
I could be. I'm just guessing.
he's got 21 counts against him for child sexual abuse. And then there's a daughter of Jenny who we seem to be unclear about what her parentage is, right? Like who is her dad? Was it Joshua Saunders, or was it Brandon Henderson, or was it somebody else? But she has a child that allegedly is the child of G2, Gary Siders. Did I get that correct?
I think so.
Whew.
I don't know who the victim belongs to. I didn't know which one of them was the victim's parent. We know that Josh Saunders and that Brandon Henderson have been indicted, both of them, they both have those sex offense charges against them. And then there's more family. There are cousins that have also been indicted in this bunch.
The-
Do you have that? You don't
no,
have.
who else has been indicted?
Um,
Do you have
let's
names? And thank you very much to our Charlotte sisters for taking care of me. Thank you, Robin. Uh, no, so who?
let me
I've actually
look
got.
real.
If you have a name, I've got the court website up. Oh,
Okay.
lest anybody wonder while you're looking that up, here is the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. This is Joshua D. Saunders. There is the charge that he is in there for. He is a murderer, convicted, 15-year to life
I'm just
dude.
gonna forward you
Okay.
this. I've got a couple that came in that had some information. Okay, I think that's the one I just sent you. And then let's see.
We'll wait for it to come in.
Did it not come through yet?
It just takes a minute. I
Okay.
I foolishly decided to use Outlook as my web client or my mail client, and that was a bad decision.
Yeah. Gmail all the way, baby.
Yeah.
I
So I
had
saw.
Outlook in college, so I know. I
That's
already knew it.
funny.
Let's see.
You had sent me
That
Gary
one,
Siders. You'd sent me a couple things before. Now it's not coming through. Let's see if
that
it'll.
didn't come through. Okay, so let me just read it real
Just yeah, just tell me a name.
Um, well, it says, wanted you. All right. So this man was related to Gary Siders Sr. At 14, Ohio woman married 48-year-old advocates for strict. Let's see.
Oh, I remember this story. I remember that one of the other Siders girls, getting back to the extended family tree, married at 14 a 48-year-old man who is now deceased.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Is that the same one?
I
That
think
might
so.
be.
Yeah.
Okay, here, I'm just going to do that. And then let me go down here to my photos. And I'll grab it this way because I screenshot just about everything.
You're screenshot McPhee. You definitely are.
It has saved me so many times. Um, all right, let's see. And all those
Angel Doss, is that the name?
papers, the ones I sent you today were not it. Those that I sent you today were um, I think just pieces of the indictment for Elizabeth and Gary.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've actually got those. I can show people those.
Oh, okay. Okay. I figured you might have them already, but
No, no, I didn't have them until you let me know. You sent them my
oh,
way. I then went to the Court of Common Pleas and got those.
okay. Look at these. See if these are any good. I think those might be it. All right. I just sent them to you.
All right, let me see if it comes through.
Hmm. Jing, jing,
Yeah, I don't see
jing.
it in my. Don't see it
um,
yet. But what names are they? And where are they? Do you know? Oh, here we are.
yeah.
Here we are. Okay, it just came in.
Okay.
So, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I saw in this affidavit. Let me I have this affidavit I can bring up. Yeah, this is the original they what I'm looking at, everybody, you can't see what I'm looking at, but what I'm looking at is a page from the complaint that Children and Youth Services had against the Siders in Gallia County.
Is
And
that what I sent you? Okay.
that was one of them. And then let me open up this one. Elizabeth Siders, Gary Siders. Yep. Gallipolis Siders' mother. Yes, that's the first one you sent me. And then the second one. Okay. At 14, Ohio woman married 48-year-old. Advocates for strict. That was what, 15 years ago message. Oh yeah, no, this is from the Dispatch, right? This is an article. This is Tessie Wright.
Oh, is that the Tessie Wright stuff? Okay.
Yes, yeah. So
She's
Tessie
14.
Wright again married Richard E. Siders. So yeah, I think Richard E. Siders is the brother of G1, right? So it would be his sister-in-law. Tessie was his sister-in-law, or is his sister-in-law. She was 14 when she married 48-year-old Richard E. Siders. Probably because she was pregnant, if I remember correct. Yeah, she was pregnant. And I mean, that's what they do in this family. In Ohio and West Virginia kind of enable this. It's
Yeah.
like I I I don't know, Elizabeth. I mean, is this just, and I hate to distill it down to this, but is this just poverty induced stupidity? I mean,
Well,
what is this?
I think it's cultural. I've been saying it. It's a culture for a long time, and I'm more convinced of it than ever that this is the culture that you see in this part of the world, or part of the country, and I think it's because you've got so much. Um, um, some people get charged with these kinds of crimes and some people don't, you know. So the more people are allowed to get away with it, the more they're going to do it.
Well, but that was the thing. In the case of Tessie Wright and Richard Siders, they legalized his rape of her
Hmm.
by going to the
Mary.
court and making the marriage. I mean, that's the main problem with child marriage, right? Is you're making it legally okay
Hmm.
for a grown man, or it could happen the opposite way too, and we see that sometimes in schools, but it most of the time it's old perverted men that are raping teenage
Yes.
girls, young teenage girls, and
And
and their parents are signing off on it, going, "Yeah, just go to the court. We'll give you permission, and go get married. Make it good with the Lord." It ain't good with the Lord, y'all. It no.
now I just sent you a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if any of it is anything that you don't have, but
Okay,
if you don't have it, then you've got it, and if you do have it, then you've got it twice.
gotcha. Okay, Nitty Kitty. I see that you're putting in the daughter's name, but I'm if she's a minor, I don't really want to put it in there. Um, yeah, and Beetle Bug Ventures says, I believe Tessie um, is anti-child bride now that Richard died. Yeah, I think that she has found her voice for sure. I mean, she was a
Hmm.
victim.
Hmm. Well, it's exposure. When you just think about it, if you're a 13-year-old girl and this is what's going on in your family, this is what's going on around you,
Yeah.
how do you think that you're going to how do you think you're going to escape it? You're not.
No, yeah, the generational habits are really hard to break. I think about, for example, girl I knew in high school, her mom like actually made the news that she was reunited with a baby that she put up for adoption when she was like 14 years old. And it became this amazing story that, oh my goodness, we're back in touch. I was a teenage girl. I got pregnant and I gave the baby up for adoption, but now she's back in my life, and isn't this a miracle? And I guess that part of it is beautiful. But then her daughter went out and got pregnant when she was 14, having kind of
Hmm.
learned well. And I also believe that that was a story that was told in the house, that yeah, I was a pregnant 14-year-old and I had to give a baby up for adoption. Don't you do that. And then it became this celebration when they were reunited, and I think that kind of gave permission to the daughter to do the same thing.
Betty, I can't believe that you just said that, because I think that that's exactly what happens. When I was young, when I was little, I had a cousin who was, she had gotten off into drugs, and it was in the 80s. So back then it was cocaine. That was the
Yeah.
big party drug of the 80s. And it was just, 18 years old, she got clean. So she was partying as a teenager. But there were these stories of mom had to detox her mom had to detox her, in the bedroom. And it was just it was these horror stories, but they became the family
Like
tales.
lore. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like folklore through the family. And I just thought, and so Dawn was this, this like superstar kind of, because she had overcome such a horrendous thing, and she went on to be a mom, and just whatever. And I'm telling you that something about that got in my head. And I had to be the overcomer of, so I don't know, somehow
It gave you
it
permission to do the same thing.
follow in her footsteps. It did. It
Yeah.
absolutely did.
Oh, we got some comments coming in, which they may disagree with what you and I are saying. It's perfectly fine. Melissa says, now she's with her dead husband's brother. Is that true? Is Tessie? I don't know. Let's
The
see.
Bible says that's what she's supposed to do.
That's funny. Miss Cubana says none of this explains the incest, though.
No,
No,
no.
but like, I don't know if I can properly let people know. I don't know that I can convince people how much of that exists in Appalachia. Like, like it's no joke. This is
Let
this. I see incest charges coming across my desk all the time at work, all the time.
Well, if maybe I can explain too. Appalachia, um, well, my house is a perfect example. This is a little 4-room shack. 4 rooms in my entire house, okay? There's this room, my kitchen, and then there's 2 rooms that I made bedrooms for both my kids, and I sleep on my couch right here beside of us. This is Appalachian camp houses, all right? Um, they're really small. Well, so poor back in the really, really poor poverty days, you had all the kids slept in one bed. So, you only had enough space. And so a lot, maybe not in every family, but in a lot of families. So, like, I just had this conversation with a lady not long ago, and she was like, I grew up in the bed with both my brothers. She said, I was my older brother's sexual release. Like, everything that he learned about girls, he learned on my body at night.
Wow.
She said, I don't remember, you know, it not ever happening. Like, from the time she was a toddler, up, he touched her in the bed with him. And, and that same man worked in local law enforcement in this area. And she said that he did it to her until she left and moved away as an adult.
Well, and think of the way they said they found those 16 kids all in one room.
And what did I say the last time we were on this? Last time I was
Let
on with you, honey,
What did you
I said,
say?
where have Elizabeth and Gary been getting pregnant at?
Yeah.
Where are they doing all this hanky panky and at with all these people around?
Yeah, the kids are learning from them.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Melissa, I do see your okay, I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look up a name that Melissa keeps on. By the way, if you put GF in your comment, I promise you I see it. You don't need to give me the same comment like 2, 3, 90 times. I see it. Um, I
She
can
said, well,
understand why
I'm
you
going to make
don't.
sure that you see it.
Yeah. But I now have a tab open and I have done the search. I will get to it afterwards. Okay. Thank you for giving that to me. I will do that. Uh, what is Mooney? Mooney is saying. I think we're gonna need this tonight. Thank you, Mooney. I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. James, hold on. Oh no. Okay. We might have to look at this. Dang it.
And I didn't get my show scheduled before this. So after Gavin's is over, give me about 15 minutes and we'll have my show up and going. So
Okay.
join us over on mine after this goes out.
Okay. So this is a complaint. Oh no.
What is it,
I don't
Gavin?
even want to. We're gonna have to. We have to do what we have to do. Okay, this is. In the comments, they said I needed to look up. Um, I needed to look up
Yes,
Angel
that's what I was
Doss
trying to send you.
and James Cremens or something like that. Okay.
This is what I was trying to send you.
Okay. So this is Ohio v. Cremens in Gallipolis, Ohio. This is Gallia County.
Mm-hmm. This is a
This is a complaint from June of this year.
I think that this is related to Elizabeth and Gary in one of those other separate investigations.
Complainant, being first duly sworn according to the law, says that on or about March 11th, 2023, continuing through June 9th, 2026, in Gallia County, Ohio, one James L. Cremens did engage in sexual conduct with Jane Doe, born 2013. So, starting at
In
age 10.
2013, this is 2026.
Yes, and it started in March of 2023. She was
She was 10.
she was 10.
Yep, you're right.
Not the spouse of said James L. Cremens, which makes a difference in Ohio for some reason. Cremens said that Jane Doe, being less than 13, let's see. The said Jane Doe being less than 13 years of age, to wit, whether or not the offender knows the age of the other person, blah, 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 felony of the first degree. So he raped a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Allegedly. He is
Yeah.
charged with raping a
But I
10-year-old
think
woman.
that this came out, or it was part of the same investigation. One of the, because there are three investigations now with
Yeah. Well,
Elizabeth
this one
and Gary.
might be the fourth. Okay. Another one against Angel N. Doss, same day.
Yeah.
Complainant being first duly sworn according to the law says that on or about March 12th, 2026, continuing through April 3rd, 2026, in Gallia County, Ohio, Angel N. Doss, recklessly as the parent, guardian, custodian person having custody or control of a child under 18 years of age, to wit, Jane Doe, same Jane Doe looks like, create a
Hmm.
substantial risk to the health or safety of the child by violating a duty of care, protection, or support, resulting in the serious physical harm of the child involved. So
Are they trafficking their own children?
that's what it looks like. Now,
That's what it looks like. Yeah. They're trafficking their own children to their family members and in laws. And, the prosecutor came out, if you remember, on that very first press conference, and he was like, "This is no human trafficking.
this is
This is no."
intrafamilial. Okay, so they're trafficking inside their own family, but that's what they're doing. They're giving up their children.
Yeah. And to men, women, girls. And so then it kind of makes you wonder, is that why she was a breeding machine? Were they trying to have daughters?
Oh, dang it. Elizabeth, I don't want to consider that kind of crap, man. But you're right. Oh.
Yeah. This is a really, really hard topic. It's a really, really hard discussion. But if we don't talk about this stuff, this is what happens. It just it just goes on behind closed doors, and we are blissfully ignorant. Ignorance is bliss.
Oh, I don't want. Oh my goodness. Guys, we made
It's
our
been
goal.
happening here. It's been happening up in these hollers for generations. These little girls are, but now the cider stuff is really extreme, like I'm thinking, we just see one or two up in these little hollers, but this looks like it was an entire breeding machine,
It
you know.
does. Now you're like now that I look at it, I think you're right. This is a system. I put on the thumbnail today. I think I said something like Cider's Family Criminal Organization or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because
He's right.
it's no secret, y'all. We want people to click on the video and watch it, right? That our incentive here is to earn a living by talking about these things. But like, you might be right that Elizabeth is cranking out girls for for this fun of the
These
men.
old men, these old men, old and young alike. Because that Henderson's boy was a young kid. He was
Yes,
in his early 20s,
yeah. Saunders, he's 23, right?
like father, like son.
Yeah, and then his stepdad or whatever you would call that. Ooh, cornbread saying probably why state wants permanent custody of the kids.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. No, they're not. They're not. They're never getting their children back if any of this is true.
And they can't go to a family member.
No, 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 no. There's no safety anywhere,
Mm-mm. And,
right?
you know, and if you think about what Joey Russell said, her brother, Elizabeth Sider's brother, he said in one of his interviews that in 2008, that whenever Elizabeth first married Gary, that their families all got along, and that they went over to Gary Sr. and Christina's, and they would have like, family
Barbecues or what? Yeah,
stuff. Yeah. And he said, excuse me, he said something happened in 2008. He said, I don't know what it was, but something happened because it all just stopped after that. He said and nobody ever saw him again. They just
yeah.
kind of went away.
I
What if,
watched. Oh, go ahead.
what if Gary had done something? I'm thinking that there may have been some kind of accusation, or something may have happened in 2008 that split the families.
Yeah, I watched a video today from Criminally Obsessed on YouTube from back in July, like as this was just starting, and they had she had a forensic like psychologist as a guest, and that guy was like, Gary Senior is probably the mastermind here, and like I like old stroke victim Gary Senior is probably the mastermind, at least in this part of the family tree. I would say maybe his brother Richard was the mastermind in his family tree. It probably goes back many, many, many generations.
Hmm.
But
and it
that just breaks me, man.
and it depends on how those families were run. In every family someone wears the pants. And some women, some in some families, the woman wears the pants, you
Oh,
know?
my family. I don't want to be in charge. You kidding me?
Yeah,
There's a lot to manage in this household.
I wear the pants in mine, but not because I want to. It's because I don't have no choice. But I don't get the impression that Elizabeth or Christina were wearing the pants in their family.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think and I don't think Junior's smart enough, and Andy was a child when all this stuff was starting. So what are your options? You've either got Senior as the mastermind, or you've got Junior as the mastermind, and he would have started it when he was 13, 15,
Yeah. But the other, I guess, facet of this is that, like, at least from what I'm seeing as things are coming across my desk covering crime here in Western Pennsylvania, is that the
Mhm.
victims of incest are
Mhm.
not just the girls.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
everybody.
It's
And,
boys too, you're right.
yeah, and it has nothing to do with heterosexuality or homosexuality or anything like that. It's just like that is an opportunity for me to have
Control.
my sexual jollies. Yeah, and
Mhm.
control is a major part of it too. So,
Power.
I mean,
Mhm.
G2 could have been as a little boy a victim the same way he later allegedly victimized others.
Mhm. Many perpetrators first started out as victims.
Yeah.
Many of them. We know that. Definitely.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
and I kind of heard myself there too. And when I was saying we got the options, uh, that Gary Jr. would have to have been a child, no, because we've got Richard. You've got Uncle Richard marrying uh, Betty, or what's her name? I'm
Tessie.
sorry,
Yeah,
Tessie.
Tessie.
You've got that happened way before Junior was fertile,
Right.
outspreading seed all over the place. So he already had the examples. And, I don't think that Gary Sr. is a whole lot older than Christina, is he? They don't seem to look a
He's
big
3 years
age.
older than her. Born
Three.
in
So, yeah.
57, she was born in 60.
So that don't track with them. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, we're going to get into Gavin's psychology, which is a scary, scary thing. But here's the thing that I don't understand. Okay. I think that I am an average man. Like, I think I'm a pretty good
Mhm.
avatar for the average human male. Okay. At
Yeah.
50, I've talked with Kimberly about this several times. When I was 16, a 50-year-old woman was, sexually speaking, disgusting. Right? You're 16, you see a 50-year-old woman, and you're just like, ew, right? But here I am, 50 years
Oh,
old, married to a 50-year-old woman, and she is beautiful
beautiful.
and and sexually arousing, right? Like a healthy relationship. Like, the older I've gotten, the older the person is that I am most attracted to, like, that has grown with me. And I think that's a normal thing, right?
Mhm.
I'm not
Mhm.
out like scouting for 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds,
Right.
18-year-olds, 20-year-olds even, right? It has the ideal woman, the age of the ideal woman for me has aged at the same rate that I have aged, right? So
Point.
I don't understand how a 48-year-old gets with a 14-year-old. Like, I,
Yes.
I do not understand that. Like, and I'm talking in many different ways. Sexually speaking, gross, man, gross. But also, a 14-year-old girl is friggin' annoying, Like, how are you hanging out with a 14-year-old girl? Like, even the ones that I love the most, our daughters have been 14, right? Like, love them to death. Annoying is all get out. How does a 48-year-old man hang
Marry a
out?
14-year. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get it. So there's,
It's perversion.
yeah.
It's a perversion. It's a sickness. It
No,
is. It
I,
truly is.
I was, yeah. I mean, that just must be what it is.
And as you were talking, as you were saying that, I was also thinking about, think about how how people have like midlife crises and stuff.
Oh, I know all
And so,
about that. I'm in my second one right now.
well, but some now will divorce their spouse who they've been married to, since they were young,
Hmm.
and they will divorce, like you were saying, a 50-year-old woman, but then divorce their 50-year-old woman and then go chase down, going to the bar every night, and they'll
Looking for
pick
college
their next,
freshmen. Yeah,
yeah,
that is
looking
a
for a
thing.
college freshman. And
Yeah.
so they go from one extreme to the other. And there's just this, how would you, like, to me, the question is, how do you go from a mature, you know, woman of your own age to a child, mentally, that gap in the
Yeah.
mentality and the maturity level, and just having a conversation with them,
Yeah.
the experience, the life experience. What would you have in common with
No, that's like,
somebody?
I can't remember the name of the football coach, but he's like 70 something and his girlfriend is 24 or something like that. Um, I think that, okay, I don't want to come across. No, I'm just going to be brutally honest about this. I think in
Come
those
on.
cases, there is something in every man where there is something animal within us where what we really want to do is spread our seed, right? We just want that, and it is in every person. I think it's in. I think it's the exception that proves the rule. If there's a person who doesn't feel that on some level, right? So I think in those cases, that is purely transactional. The dude is not looking for anything except sex.
Yeah.
And I think the girl is not looking for anything except security.
Hmm.
And I think it's just like transactional. Hey, look, I will give you security
Yeah.
if you will give me sex. And so that definitely, I think that does definitely exist within every person, myself included, right? That would be part of, I'm a human male. That would be part of my instinct. But there is something like in the normal guy that fights against that goes, ooh, oh no, wrong. I don't want to have a conversation with that person, right? But can you imagine if you are the kind of 48-year-old that impregnates a 14-year-old just going to like a high school football game to cheer on the local team? That would be sexually frustrating being around 300 children. And you would act out with whomever was your victim. Like, just
Yeah.
think about how, if you have that particular
Yeah.
sickness
Yeah.
and you just go out to whatever, the carnival, the the Walmart, the wherever you are going to be where there are going to be children.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
I don't ever want to send my children outside of my house ever again after having this conversation. Elizabeth, I didn't want to think about like those 16 kids as like they possibly could have been bred victims,
Yeah. Yeah.
created for victimhood.
Absolutely. They sure can. And think about how many girls get pregnant just so they can have somebody to love them. You
Yeah.
know, how many
Yeah.
young teenage girls just want a baby just so, so because it's going to love me. and I'm going to love it. And because they have such horrible lives, they have such horrible childhoods. They didn't have any kind of love and affection. And we do that as human beings, we do that. So, if you have people that aren't very bright, that might have some level of, you know, um, developmental difficulties,
Yeah, yeah.
um, their norms are not going to be the same as ours,
Yeah,
you
and I
know.
think you're right. I think there's some developmental problems in this whole clan.
hmm They
And
know it's wrong. I think that we all have
sure.
um, I think we all have that within us to know, uh, get that feeling if we're doing something wrong. I'd say that they do too.
Yeah.
But it just makes me wonder what goes on, or what was going on behind the closed doors. I remember when my boys were little, they never wanted to wear clothes. You couldn't keep clothes on
I was
them.
that kind of a little kid too.
And
Yeah.
we would come home from school, and Gregory would start stripping as soon as we walked through the door,
Yeah.
and he was in grade school. but but that was fine, it was behind our closed door. If he wanted to strip his clothes off and sit around in his underwear in his bedroom and play video games, then that's what he did. you know Imagine, and nobody was ever the wiser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if it was something not so innocent.
Or if it was an innocent little kid who just needed to not have the constraints of clothing on him, but he's around somebody
Like that.
like
Oh my
Gregory.
God. Now, see, that's something I didn't think. It's
Yeah.
awful, isn't it?
No,
That's
I
awful.
these are the kinds of conversations that make me extremely grateful for the way that my parents raised us.
Oh, yeah.
And the place. Like, okay, when I
Praise God.
was like,
Jesus.
I would have done it. I would have been like 4, 5, 6 years old at this point, right? But my parents to this day joke about how they could not keep clothing on me, period. They didn't, not just behind closed doors. And we lived in this, we lived down a dirt lane in a little house and kind of very much in the country. And
Hmm.
there was a river. The Weber River was, I don't know, 500 yards behind our house, maybe a little farther. Well, I would be fully dressed, and I would be going headed down to the river, and my parents would talk about how they knew exactly where I was because they could see a trail of clothing.
Breadcrumb.
Shoes being taken off, socks being taken off, my pants off, my like
Yeah.
Gavin's at the river. Somebody go get Gavin. Pick up his clothes along the way. But I was in a safe place.
Yeah.
Not only with my family, but with everybody. I was safe, and uh, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And, they were hiding those kids,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes.
that when we first thought about that, we didn't quite realize, um, what their motive for hiding them was. It was truancy, or, a dirty
Embarrassment at how
house.
dirty it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, no. This was, you're not taking away my sex toys. Or could be, we are completely speculating
You
about
know
that,
what?
of course.
This is one of those where they would have went, there's a little too much pressure now in Vinton County, so time for us to pick up and move to another county.
Yeah. They don't stay very long. That's a trait of human trafficking, organizations, and, circles, is they don't stay in one place too long. They move around so they're not
Yeah.
caught. And
I think maybe legally, definitionally, they're saying this isn't human trafficking because of the legal definition of human trafficking, but this is trafficking their own children, their nieces and nephews, their grandchildren within that intrafamilial group.
yeah, yeah. And
Goodness.
if they hadn't have started these, just imagine it'd be still going on. Number one, with all these people, but something else too. You imagine. So we see the magnitude of how much of this is in the Siders bunch. Just imagine how many other families this is happening in.
Oh, it's everywhere. And like I think about this. I've shared this on the channel before, but let me just remind everybody. There was a local character out here in Western Pennsylvania that the law did not like, and they'd actually even accused him of murder at one point, and prosecuted him and dropped the charges. But they knew he was bad, right? They just knew he was bad, and he was constantly getting picked on by law enforcement. And
Mhm.
people in our community, people that I love, people that I respect, people that I'm a little skeptical of, but I still love and respect them. They would be like, the police are unfairly targeting him, and they've already dropped those charges. He sued them and won, and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, but that whole adage, where there's smoke there's fire, kind of it's true most of the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so there was this accusation that he had raped his brother, and everybody's, oh, leave him alone, leave him, of course. And he's like, I am as pure as the wind-driven snow. I have got an alibi. Look, my baby mama is my alibi. She will tell you I was nowhere, and it was actually a pretty rock solid alibi
Mhm.
until he was taken into custody over a drug thing and was in jail and was not going to get out of jail for several years when his alibi broke to me. Gavin, he really wasn't with me. What now? And like, can I record this? Yes, you can record this. Just don't share it. I'm like, I'm going to share this with law enforcement. Okay, that's okay. I recorded it, called the DA's office, and said, I've got a recording I need to send to you. And that guy now is in prison. He pleaded guilty to raping his brother. So, like, I guess my point of telling that story is, yes, it's everywhere, and they will all tell you that it's not happening,
Yeah.
and it
They'll
is
all deny.
happening. That man's
Mhm.
mom was like, my baby would never do that to my other baby. She knew he would do it to her other baby. She
How
had
old were
been
they?
probably watching him do that his entire life.
How old were they?
At this point, they were in their 20s, I think, 20s and 30s. When
How old
when
were
that
they
fi-
when it happened?
yeah, in their 20s and 30s.
He
Yeah.
raped him as an adult?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, and I think it was mostly a control thing, right? I think his brother was out of control, and he was going to show him who was boss.
Oh my
I
God.
know.
Like
I
my boys are brothers and they love each other, but they also hate each other. You know what I mean? Gregory'd kill Alan and Alan would kill Gregory. I mean, there wouldn't be no. You imagine the damage, the the dysfunction,
well,
the
that behavior had to have been going on since they were little boys, right? That's the thing. So that one
oh,
had control over the other for the entire life. He was sexually abusing his little brother, I think, his entire life. And he
you're
had that
right.
control.
You're right, because he wouldn't just all of a sudden do
No.
that
No.
as an adult.
No, that
You're
wasn't the first time he
absolutely
did that. That was
right.
probably the 900th time that he did that.
Oh
You know,
my
is
God.
I know. And so, yeah, to your point, that's the reason I shared that. To your point, we're all looking at the Siders family going, I cannot believe what is going on here. And can you believe what they're finding? Yeah, yeah, I can. I don't want to, but this is the kind of stuff that happens. And can you imagine, like, okay, I am just a local reporter, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just a local reporter and a YouTuber. And
Yeah.
that's all I am. Can you
Yeah.
imagine if you were a sheriff deputy or a city police officer in Appalachia somewhere, that you are the one that is responding to call after call after call to these different, domestic violence situations, and you know this particular guy because you know he's bad. You just haven't been able to make anything stick, and you know everything that's happening in your area. How do you raise your family in that area?
Can you imagine being one of the deputies that turns the blind eye to it all, or
There are those.
takes the bribe, or
100%. There are those.
caves under the pressure? How can we all have to lay our heads down on a pillow every night and go to sleep. I wonder how well some people sleep at night. I sleep like a baby. How about you, Gavin?
I do. Yes, indeed, I do.
I sleep like a baby.
Yes. Let's see. Professor, I don't know, Perfisler says, Gavin, thank you very much for the super chat. I haven't heard anyone mention yet the incredible statistical anomaly of having 3 sets of twins in a row. It's just one more disturbing aspect of the case. I think that from
Interesting.
what I understand it, the more children you have, the higher the likelihood is that you will have twins.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And very few women ever make it above like 10, right? Very few women ever make it above 3. But once you're having 10 kids, like I know a family with 15 kids right now, and they have 2 sets of twins.
Hmm.
They're also, in
Interesting.
my opinion, based on things that I have observed, certifiably nuts.
Certifiably.
I think that if somebody went into that house with a magnifying glass and maybe the digital forensics guy, they might find stuff. Just based on my observation, I think it's perfectly reasonable for me to arrive at that conclusion.
Gotcha.
It's allegedly, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's oh,
Well,
Elizabeth, I enjoy our conversations, but you know what we need? We need transition music, and we need to talk. Wanda needs to help us with some transition music. Wanda, give us something plucky to listen to for a second. Oh, you just need to cleanse the palate, Elizabeth. This, have you met Wanda yet? Have I introduced you to Wanda? She's our she's our music director. She's playing all the instruments by herself. She has the arms of the Hydra. Okay, that's enough, Wanda. Thank you very much.
I
Yeah.
like her little jam there.
Oh yeah, she's good. She's good.
I'm getting
She's got
down.
different. Wanda, can you play something jazzy for us? Listen to those rim shots. She's amazing. Oh yeah. Thanks, Wanda. Now, sometimes I just need transition music. I need to not think.
Well, you got me ready to go dance, buddy. I want to go to the ballroom.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's well, what do you got going on your channel tonight? You're going to continue with this case?
Mickey Steins. We're going to talk about
Oh, good.
Mickey tonight.
Good.
The we're going to read the arguments between the prosecuting attorney and the defense on the change of venue. So
Good.
we're going to see what they're talking about. They propose a few counties. The big argument right now is adjacent county. Is that the right word? I think
Yeah.
so. In the law for the change of venue and a jury of your peers, the defense has really got some good arguments.
Oh,
I
it's
don't think
supposed to
that
be an
they'll win.
adjacent county, right?
I think so. I think that that's how, or well, or I don't remember exactly how it's worded. I've got it all prepared for tonight, but
All
I don't
right.
remember
Well, I've got
exactly.
you linked in the description down below, and as soon as this video processes on YouTube, we'll also get you a collaboration on there so that people will find you. But guys, in the
Yeah,
description, you can click on her link there. Go check her out. Hillbilly Crime is a great place to talk about true crime, especially the Mickey Steins case, which is a fascinating case, filled also with sexual abuse,
yeah,
systemic, not
yeah,
familial in this case. It's like systemic.
yeah.
It's ugly. But
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth has got her finger on the pulse out there. Thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And can you stick around while I do my closing? I want to chat for just a second if you're game.
Yep.
All right, cool. Thanks, Elizabeth. Guys, thank you so much for another terrific week. I know that I missed a couple of 1 or 2 days this week. I was just simply overwhelmed. I got a lot going on, but thanks for tuning in when I am live and for watching. I don't know if you guys know this, but I decided to live stream onto Facebook tonight, and it actually worked. So we're live streaming both on YouTube and on Facebook, and this will be uploaded to Spotify if you're a Spotify premium member, and it then gets distributed out as an audio podcast throughout the interwebs. So, wherever you are watching or listening, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for your super chats and stickers tonight. That was incredibly generous, and I deeply appreciate it. I think it's a case that is so important to talk about that I've just decided to do it, and your support really helps. So, thank you for that. We'll be back on Monday with whatever else is happening in the world of true crime. It'll be our regular show where we have our different segments. With when I have Elizabeth on, I just like to chit chat, and it works out really well for both of us. With that, I bid you adieu. Have yourself a terrific weekend. See you on Monday. Take care.